Hello everybody, and welcome back to Open Source Tonight. Today what I wanted to talk to you about is whether or not that I want to move to Debian Linux. And the answer is maybe. I know, right? Complicated. Not a yes, not a no. So why maybe specifically? Well, I'm used to Ubuntu, but I don't know. I gotta say, I've had weird issues of audio on it lately. I think my audio drivers are messed up. Really not sure. Ubuntu just, I don't know. I've used it for a long time, and it might be interesting to try out something else. And I really like Debian. A little bit I've played with it over the last few years on and off. So I might move to Debian. So a couple things I wanted to talk about that comes into that. For example, one of the reasons I want to use Debian is the fact that it's similar to Ubuntu in a lot of ways. I like the apt command. I like to be able to use deb packages. Again, for the most part, that functionality remains because that's really from Mother Debian, if you will. Number two, another big one for me, is the fact that Debian seems to be very stable, and that makes me want to give it a try, And another one for me, and this is similar to the way it is in Ubuntu, they don't push packages, major versions down all of a sudden on you in an update, because I don't want to be updated to the latest version of something if it's working automatically. I might, but I don't necessarily. So that gives me the ability to stay on older versions of a program if I feel the need, right? And so I don't have to worry about things changing on me. That's a big one, right? Most of the stuff that I use, I have checked and it will work in Linux. In fact, not in Linux, but in Debian Linux. The only thing I've had trouble with is getting DaVinci Resolve to work, and I think I know what's wrong with it because I did do a test Debian install. I'm going to check it out and I'll see if I can figure it out here shortly. But that's one of the biggest reasons I am thinking about going to Debian Linux. It's just really the fact that it seems stable. I like it. It's something I seem to understand because it's similar to Ubuntu in a lot of ways. But there is some differences. For example, for one thing with Debian, you normally have a root account that is set in an Ubuntu. You don't. Now, I've used things like CentOS before and Rocky Linux, which you normally have a root account as well. So I'm kind of already used to that. It's all right. So I don't necessarily have that big of a deal about it. The biggest thing for me is the fact that I'm going to have to customize Debian to my tastes a little bit, because Ubuntu is mostly the way I want it. If I use Debian, I kind of got to customize a little more. I want the GNOME desktop, the GNOME 3 desktop. I would like to have, a dock, so I'll have to use a dock extension. I think I used to use an extension called Simple Dock years ago before I used Ubuntu, where they actually kind of shipped their own kind of thing. And I think theirs is actually based on Simple Dock, maybe? It's based on something like that, if I remember. Anyway, but I think I'm going to, set up something like that. I can do things like have snap packages on Debian, from what I'm aware, Flatpack, stuff like that. So if I do need more up-to-date software, because for some things I will want that, I can use Snap, I can use Flatpak, things like that to get it. So I think that Debian might end up being my home on Linux for the foreseeable future. I have used Linux at least some of the time for over 10 years now. Yeah. Over 10 years. Started in around 2012, if memory serves. And so personally, I want to see maybe Debian will get me to the next 10 years, right? I have been using Debian actually about that long too, just not on my desktop or anything, right? I've used it on Raspberry Pis. Raspberry Pi OS is Debian for the most part, with a few things changed, right? And I do really like Raspberry Pi OS. That's another thing too, is somebody that uses Raspberry Pis, it'd be cool to have desktop Linux and Raspberry Pi Linux be pretty close. And I mean, again, Debian and Ubuntu is already close, and Raspberry Pi is very close to Debian Linux. So there is similarities, but for me at this point, I'm really looking for something that I think is just going to be rock solid, and I think Debian's really going to give me that, and it's going to stay out of my way, because I want an operating system to stay out of my way, right? I just want it to work and stay out of my way. So, folks, it's just a quick video, but I am seriously considering going to Debian. Let me know in the comments your experience down below of what you think about Debian, because I would like to hear your input. And if there's anything I need to watch out for that I might not be aware of already with Debian, for example, please let me know, because I haven't really used it on desktop much. Used it on Pi for years, but that's a little bit of a different ballgame. So everybody, please just let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see y'all again soon. Goodbye, everybody.
And action.